Part 2, circulation herbs. What relies on blood? Everything. So, river of life, they call it. Brain, the eyes, the middle ear. Now remember, when you're dealing with a Western practitioner, or some of us in natural medicine, appropriately qualified, tinnitus is a label. Basically, your ears are ringing. It can often be a relief. In Latin, the articulations of the joints. Itis, the suffix itis, is inflammation. Inflammation of where the joints meet is literally what the word means, but it's come to mean a diagnosis. You'll hear osteoarthritis, osteo means bone, rheumatoid arthritis, and so forth. You've heard of rheumatism. So I'm not asking you to ignore diagnoses or any way be flippant or unserious with them, but knowing where words come from just helps you understand and tilt you in a direction of how to interpret things. I've mentioned Ginkgo biloba being the oldest tree in the world. I've mentioned Bacopa, also called brahmi. Comes from the caste called the Brahmins in India. There's a beautiful boy who's a really inspirational Australian that people don't remember. His name's Adam Ritson. He was a first grade rugby league player who had a head-high tackle. And his grandmother, unbelievably beautiful lady, anyone would be lucky to have a grandmother like this, very great Australian family. 1996, you can still Google this. Bacopa and brahmi. Certain amount, certain dose, and he had lost a lot of his memory. Most of it. It was very tragic. I won't go into it. So tragic. It's one of the great success stories that you could look at with this. Bacopa. Some people call it gotcha cola. Ayurveda, AYR, Indian herb. Again, one of the people, I've maxed the dose. You're not going to hear about this anywhere else on any other media. You're literally the only person in the world that I've heard say this. If I've, you know what I've done, and I've maxed a high dose with inappropriate situations, people will tell me, because most people aren't taking heroic doses, they're taking small doses. Check with your doctor, healthcare professional. You need someone who can deal with you and love one-on-one, not just me from Australia, right? But Bacopa, you feel like all the blood's coming to your arms, your skin, your face. Now, where will I fit this on the board? So we've got Ginkgo. I'll do it right down here. I'll give you a couple of wild cards. Albizia. Sorry, not albizia. They call that the Japanese happiness tree. That's for the nervous system mixtures, potentially. Chinese club moss. There's a couple of types of club moss. Moss is one of the more ancient trees on earth. It grows very close to the ground. That's something you can look at. They've been trying to get certain drugs from this. Huperzine or huperzine, the plant, trying to get. This is a little bit outside the scope of the discussion. My mother, who's an appropriately qualified naturopath, put me onto this when I was young, younger than now. What could we do? 5. There's 2 that I could choose from. One is rosemary. People cook with rosemary. Rosemary is thought of as being an upward moving herb. It's what herbalists, you'll hear this a lot, probably on the internet. Moves blood to the hair, to the face, to the skin. Rosemary. Not so much rosemary. Rosemary's got something called volatile oils. They evaporate at room temperature. It gives it a smell. It's the oils you're smelling. Can be a little bit strong. Herbs that have volatile oils, rosemary, peppermint, oregano, a few things in this family, you don't need too much. I use rosemary usually at a 25% dose, max of the other things in the formula. Little tiny secret there for you. Oat straw. We've talked about that one, this is to fall off the wall. Oat seed, oat straw. Straw we use for the skin, hair, nails. We use it, sometimes people use different things, but it enhances cognition, lowers nerves. It reminds me, not quite, but one of my favourite teas. I said before that mint and chamomile aren't my favourite, I'm not against them. I like jasmine. It's almost a perfect tea that you can have it all through Asia, the leaf and the flower. It's associated, check with the healthcare professional, look at some studies, but just, you know, just give you an idea of some education broadly. Enhances cognition, lowers nerves. It's anti-parasite, lowers general parasites, enhances digestion. It's almost a perfect meal, food to end your day with. So you've got oat straw, rosemary, Bacopa, Chinese club moss, Bacopa, Ginkgo. There's a few others that I could share with you, but that's something to have a look at. And you might find that capsules and tablets are expensive and they restrict your dose. If there's someone appropriately qualified that can advise you, you might even find maybe Ginkgo tea. You boil it and you drink it. You don't have to restrict the dose. Now, what are some elements that happen when brain go down? What are some labels we put on it that we deal with dementia, Alzheimer's, tinnitus or tinnitus, brain fog, memory loss. Now, what happens with blood? What happens with blood? Where do you think blood's moving? Is it moving up or is it moving down? Well, it moves both ways, but there's a force called gravity. The brain doesn't get very good blood. Broke my texter. The brain is fighting hard to get blood supply, so it's not easy. So some of these help it work against gravity. Your heart's a little pump, it does an almighty job.